Hello, I'm Higher Vibrations, and so are you. I've talked to a lot of people today, which is kind of uncommon for me. I'm not a big social butterfly anymore. Um, and I've done so much physical social interactions or on the telephone that I've actually not been on YouTube much, which is really strange for me. Um, but a common theme in these conversations has been most of the people I've talked to have had some type of physical ailment or body pang or weird experience with their physical that is causing them quite a bit of distress and alarm and to fall into a place of fear. Now, before I go any further, if you are called to do it, then it's a good idea to go see your doctor or your physician for anything. I mean, it doesn't hurt to find out what the diagnosis is called. But something that I've been learning over the past little while is how our bodies work and how these physical symptoms are only a side effect of an underlying issue or the experience of an emotional distress, a karmic thing that we have been experiencing and carrying around in this form of what we call baggage for a very long time. Karmic anchoring is another term that's been used, and a lot of this is peeled away during a process of a dark night of the soul. But right now we're in this weird time where everything is heightened. I've heard and experienced it myself as well on multiple occasions where right now we're in this perfect homeostasis for growth, for healing, for letting go of so much that we've carried for perhaps thousands of years. Who knows? It could have been from yesterday. It doesn't matter where it came from. It's that it needs to be released. When we hold something in judgment, we keep it there. We hold it in place. And it's like we hold on to it and we keep it. We absorb it and make it part of our identity and who we are as we sit and analyze and try to decide where it came from and why it's there and so on and so forth. But if we can acknowledge it, understand its existence, that yeah, it does exist, and then just release it and let it go, then I start to notice my body symptoms get repair. They go away in most cases. There's been multiple times where also too it's been something that has had to been has so much to be dealt with that it lasted for a little while, or it came back and went again. The most difficult thing for me was to learn about forgiveness. When I was many, many years ago, I used to hear, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else. And that would offend me. I would be so mad. How dare you? I mean, I love everybody. I'm the most loving person you will ever meet. And yes, that was probably true for the experience that I had available to me at that time. But it's also true, I had no self-love. None. None at all. And I have been coming into a place where I have it now. And I'm starting to, not starting really, I suppose, but I now see how that was true. That without loving myself, I couldn't love the other. That recovery, that transition into finding the place of understanding and having some kind of self-love began with forgiveness. Again, without being able to forgive myself, I was completely incapable of forgiving anyone else. And again, that offended me. I forgive everybody all the time and whatever. So that was the beginning of my growth period for that. And there's a lot of amazing meditations out there and, thought-provoking meditative ideas to kind of consider and philosophical, whatever. There's so much out there. Self-forgiveness, this and that. And Until I was truly able and willing to look at that, none of those things were helpful. But as soon as I was ready, everything helped. So try Googling it. Search on YouTube. There's so many forgiveness meditations. It's just amazing. Aaron Apke's one that I've found quite a bit of meditations that have been helpful. So as we start to work through that stuff, as we start to forgive ourselves and then the other, then the everything else, all the other things that we didn't realize we hadn't released before, then in my experience, I started to have self-love. And then therefore, the love experience I had with everyone else became purer and more true. And as that happened, I started to have some really weird body symptoms. I started to have some serious, like I was really concerned a few times about what my body was doing. And as these things would come up, these things that I had never addressed, and perhaps I didn't even know where it came from because it didn't feel like mine or it didn't look like mine, but it felt like mine, to simply acknowledge it rather than holding on to it and analyzing and judging it, to acknowledge it and release it, to say thank you. Thank you for this experience. Goodbye. You've done your job. Thank you. Goodbye. And let it go. It doesn't matter why, where, when, what. It's just, it's time for it to go now. It's done its job. And as each thing is released, there's definitely going to be for me, in my experience, there's a body symptom to it. My body reacts to it. You know, the sacral chakra, the stomach issues that everybody seems to be having right now. That's where emotions are built. That's where our experience that can be the lower spectrum of, there's a spectrum of between love and fear, right? Love is of God and fear is the opposite. And there's all these different experiences in between. Shame and guilt, I think, are like the second and third from fear. That's some of the lowest experience we can have. The farthest away from God, rather. And the more that we experience and live within that state, the more distress we will be in. Because it's not harmonious with our true nature. And that is pure love. Love of all, of self, of everything. Love of the obnoxious neighbor and the person that may have caused you great harm. Love of every side of the fence. And it's possible to happen. It starts with forgiveness. And it ends with forgiveness too. We're going to be continuing to experience this for the next few weeks, month, maybe 6 weeks or so, where we're going to be in this perfect alignment place where we can have rapid recovery happening. And you're likely going to have some physical symptoms to it. Allow yourself to acknowledge it and to release it. You know, I mean, there's no harm in seeing your doctor too. But you'll find as you forgive through that and release through that, they'll go away. The symptoms will go. It's not scary. There's no reason to be afraid. You're okay. A lot of people are experiencing this. And it's only going to get more intense over the next couple of weeks. Find your center. Pray and meditate. Drink plenty of water. Get as much rest as you can. And release. As you acknowledge, release. It's just going on its way. Thank you for the experience you've given. I hope this helped in some way. And please check out some of those meditations. They're very, very helpful. I don't think any of them can go wrong when you're in the place and ready to do it. Aho blessings.